The ultimate tournament of everything.
Welcome to the Tournament of Everything, where we compare everything against everything else to figure out which thing is the best thing ever.
That's right. And we do so by carefully embroidering the names of each of those things into the back of a tall armchair. We set a grizzly bear loose into that room, and whichever chair it decides is the most comfortable will be the selection that moves on to the next round of the ultimate tournament of everything.
The ultimate tournament of everything.
I like that. Goldilocks, it's like Goldilocks' favorite thing. Except that's not how we do it at all. We actually select random articles off Wikipedia using a random article generator and then pit those things against each other to figure out which one we think would move on in a tournament to the death. In round one, we have the Athletics at the...
Wait.
Oh, we have round one music?
We have round one music sent in by a lovely fan who asked to remain anonymous, but they sent it to us through anchorfm.com, and you can do the same with any beautiful blast. Pick your favorite round and send us a sound. Let's hear that beautiful round one tune.
Mike, that really just sounds like you were drunk and said round one over and over again.
That is certainly not what happened. Let's see what's happening in round one.
We have athletics at the 1971 Mediterranean Games, specifically the results, and Aridus basalis, a species not of moth, but of flat bug.
Now, a flat bug is not necessarily just a bug that you've stepped on. It is also a family of bugs and a member of true bugs, Heteroptera. It refers to their dorso-ventrally flattened bodies.
Well, there you go. That's what a flat bug is. So if you've never seen one, now you know.
Speaking of knowing, I'd like to know all about the athletics at the 1971 Mediterranean Games.
Now, like other competitions, this one looks like track and field events, from what I can tell.
Yeah, I think this is the entire event, all of the events within the larger umbrella event.
Oh, that's interesting. The 100 meters was won by Manuel Carballo of Spain with a time of 10.5.
Fast guy. How fast is our little beetle buddy, the Aridus basalis? Do we have his stats?
That's a great question. I do not have his weight, his height, his long jump, or his 100 meter, but I do know that with few exceptions, these cryptic insects offer no economic importance.
But they are representing North America. And it seems here that most of the competitors in the athletics in Mediterranean Games were from, let's see, we've got a veritable European nations represented over here.
Maybe almost the Mediterranean.
Yeah, the whole freaking thing.
Now, the question is, could the results at the 1971 Mediterranean Games really hold a candle to Aridus basalis?
Well, I think that if it did, its fragile body would probably be damaged by the flame. However, nature took millions of years to evolve this amazing creature, and this was which running of the games? How long have the games been taking place?
That is a great question. I don't think I know the answer. Does it still happen? Mediterranean Games, also known as the 6th Mediterranean Games. Okay.
So only going back to 1965, that's not as significant of a historical impression as the basalis friend of ours, the beetle known as Aridus basalis.
Yeah, and here's the thing. A lot of these results in the 1971 games, I'm sure, have been beat. I know for a fact we run the 100 faster than 10.5 now. Well, not me and you. Other faster people, right? So while I'm sure these were impressive for the time. This is now 51 years ago, and I'm sure Eridus basalis is still out there being a flat bug.
Well, you didn't show up flat in this competition. Eridus basalis, you're moving on to the next round.
The ultimate tournament jump expert.
Can you just imagine?
The ultimate tournament jump expert.
Gotta get it in.
Can you just imagine what it's got to be like for one of these people listening to this podcast to go, it makes no sense. I don't understand. Why do some bugs win and some bugs lose? This doesn't make any sense. And you know what I say to that person? You're right. It doesn't.
Well, what this beetle didn't have going for it was that it wasn't a moth, apparently.
That's true. Moths show up. Flat bugs do not.
Well, they might both show up if you turn on a light on a hot summer night. So let's move on to a hot round 2.
It's time for round 2.
In round 2, we have Natacopsis, an extinct genus of small sea snail, against John Plemth.
Now, those of you who have been tuning in since the draft stage of this competition would know that John Plemth and Natacopsis are in different divisions and crossed in no way prior to this day. Let's see how these unknown competitors face off when finally met in competition.
John Plemth, for those of us unfamiliar, like me and you and everyone else, I'm just reading this off Wikipedia, was the Archdeacon of Lewes from 1478 until his death in 1483.
Apparently there was uncertainty upon the spelling of his name.
Yeah, spellings include plenty, plenth, plenty, plentith, and plentith.
So that last one was kind of a mix of all of them together.
Yeah.
Take a chance.
Now, some of that might just be the Old English. It looks like he was a native of Stratford upon Avon, just like our friend William Shakespeare. Educated at Eton and King's College, he held incumbencies at Sturminster, Marshall, Beccles, Brightwalton, and Hartfield. He does have a legacy column. Now, that's interesting. You know you've really made it when your Wikipedia page has a category called legacy. Let's see if Natacopsis has one of those.
Wow. Founded a chantry at King's College, Cambridge, where he was a bursar, one of a group of fellows of the period who endowed priests to sing in the King's College Chapel. King's College is still a big deal today.
Yeah. Now, his opponent, Natacopsis. This genus is also known in the fossil record from the Permian to the Triassic periods. Fossil species within this genus have been found in China, the United States, Europe, Cambodia, Iran, Japan, Malaysia, and Pakistan. This sea snail was everywhere.
Yeah, we're talking about an OG sea snail. We're talking about a throwback here. You might say a dinosaur, but you'd almost be underselling it if you did. This goes all the way back to the beginning, and it's still represented, I believe, in only fossil form, but its ancestors are still creeping and crawling around today.
There are still sea snails, and watch out, because one of them will kill you. Probably not this one. It's already dead. But one sea snail out there is like one of the most venomous insects in the entire world. Something like that.
Can we just assume that this was, I mean, it had to have some way to defend itself. It was so long ago, the wild times.
It may have just been the shell, though. Maybe it didn't get that till later. The question is, in a fight, could it beat John Plemth, Plenty, Plentith, or Plentith?
Well, if it could or if it couldn't, I believe that he would sing a lovely song about it. They believed, and they being, looks like Sir John Atkins, bequest of his own. Nope. It just seems he was a memorable guy, though, but we can't forget Natacopsis, and we can't forget where we come from. And this guy came from everywhere. So I think I'm going to have to lay down my vote in this round for the sea snail, Natacopsis.
So you're... Just so I'm clear, your team extinct sea snail.
Yes. As fine wine only gets better with time, I believe that a nice, tasty 412 million year old escargot would just be divine.
That's how you get food poisoning. I am Team John Plemth. You know what that means?
We have a tie. And we will be facing off to decide who will be moving on to the next round by thumb wrestling with robots that we have each had sent to each other's house. Who built the better thumb wrestling robot to defeat the other one? Their selection will move on to the next round. Let's find out which one of us will continue this episode with a crushed appendage.
Did you get my robot in the mail?
I did. It is pretty impressive.
Yours did not arrive, unless it's just this box full of rubber bands.
It is the box full of rubber bands.
Why don't we pick a number between 1 and 1,000 instead?
My thumb thanks you, and I pick 800, and that's my number.
Okay. I'm going to go with 78.
Solid choice.
61! John Plemth, it was meant to be. You are moving on.
To the next round of...
The ultimate turtle jump everything.
I love the fierce smell of competition in the hour that we are competing right now, and it's to get involved with such greats as John Plemth and Netacopsis. I feel honored, and it feels like a historical moment to me that I'll never forget.
Yeah, as with most things from the show, I'll never forget. I actually forget most of them and remember very little. I'm supposed to be learning something, but some of these things, I think I've learned that moths are everywhere. And I do remember a lot about Lethbridge Railway Station.
Well, we also learn about ourselves. So why don't we continue that internal deep dive in round 3?
It's time for round 3.
In round 3, we have Ashpu Combahee Edisto Basin National Estuarine Research Reserve against, this is a heavy hitter, Arkansas Highway 2.
The Fightin' 2.
Where would you like to start?
Well, if you're going to go anywhere, you want to start at the start. But if you're going to have to move on from that point, then you might as well take Arkansas Highway 2. It's an east-west state highway in the Arkansas Timberlands and lower Arkansas Delta, just above the bottom of the state there. It looks like it just crosses it. Except near cities, it's got a bunch of other information, but it looks like it's a pretty good road. Been there since 1926.
Now, hang on. It sounds like it's not around. On July 1st, 1931, the route was entirely replaced by U.S. Highway 82.
Wow.
It was until it wasn't.
They just tossed an 80 on it and called it a brand new thing.
The route served the southern tier of counties in Arkansas, connecting several cities of regional importance. Connected 6 county seats, included 3 toll bridges.
A toll bridge, huh? On a state road?
Yeah, they ran out of trolls, so they moved to tolls. Let's look at the National Estuarine Research Reserve. The Ashpu Combahee Edisto Basin National Estuarine Research Reserve. That is a lot of words that I cannot pronounce. 140,000 acre reserve.
Its name is often shortened to the Ace Basin NERR. Located in the Ace Basin, look at that beautiful picture there, Otter Island.
It looks like it is one of the largest undeveloped estuaries on the Atlantic coast of the United States. This is a local U.S. thing that I've never heard of. Commercial fishermen harvest supplies, shrimp, crab, oyster, clam, and finfish. What is a finfish? Fish with fins.
It's one of those big ones. Yeah, it's one of the big ones, though, where the fin is It literally stands out of the water. Real cool. Do they have swords on their noses too? Are those like double dangerous?
Maybe.
Actually, we can find out real quick just for our own edification. No, it is actually, look, oh wait, no, that's just a picture of General Fish. So it's still unknown.
It looks like 95% of living fish species are finfish. So it's most fish.
All right, less
Probably.
impressive. Less impressive. But you'd be probably, actually, you think the Arkansas Highway 2 has some good fish joints running around it?
It
I mean,
might.
might
Looking
see some
at
catfish.
the picture, it's a dirt road. There's the section that still exists. Definitely a small kind of one-lane dirt road. East of Lake Village, US 82, formerly Highway 2, turn northeast along Lake Chakotay to Old Ferry Crossing near Greenville. Now alignment is now Highway 144. So it's turned into a bunch of other highways. So clearly the route was important, but the road itself was not.
Yes. And if I wanted to take a stroll anywhere, I don't think it would be down that dirt road. I think it would be upon the scenic, shrimp-filled coasts of the Ashepoo, Combahee, Edisto Basin National Estuary Research Reserve. And that's why it's my choice to move on to the next round.
The ultimate tournament of
What do you say?
I'm going to have to agree with you. Ace Basin Nur, you have what it takes to move on to our next round. You took that highway and you kicked it right to the curb.
That's right. And you're moving on to the next round of
the ultimate tournament of
If memory serves me right, we are in round 4.
My round 4 is ready.
In round 4, we have Grevada Vaslui, a commune in Romania, against Calsa, the historical quarter of the Italian city of Palermo, known for their pizzas. That last little bit is definitely not in there. That's just where I know the name from.
Now, Calsa and Gravita, they have a bit of beef going all the way back to last season when one's chief player was injured by another's chief player. Whose chief player will be injuring the other one tonight so the other can persevere to the next round? Let us discover the answer.
I really hope they can do it without coming to blows this round. They cleared the benches last season.
It was not pretty.
Let's look at Gravita Vaslui first. It is composed of 3 villages, Gravita, Odaiburskanya, and Trestiania, and it is a commune. That is all we know. We have a little bit of a map. It's established in 1504, population of 3,293, and that is about all we know. Mike, why don't you take a look at Calsa next?
Yeah, Calsa is a historical quarter of, as you said, Palermo. It goes back long in history. In ancient times, most of the area known now as Calsa was actually underwater. In fact, Hannibal used to dock their ship there when they prepared to attack the Greek city of Himera.
How did they underwater it?
Well, I'd imagine that the water went elsewhere.
That makes sense.
In the Middle Ages, it was one of the first planned Arab settlements in Europe, and in World War II, it was heavily bombed.
But you know what? That shows me it's got perseverance, because the area has since been revitalized and is home to art galleries, restored churches and palaces, and other tourist attractions. You cannot keep Calsa down.
If you want to talk about down, you're going to talk about the small Ukrainian village of Gravita Vaslui. It's literally down at the very bottom on the southern border of Ukraine. So that's, does it say Romania there?
Yes, so it looks like Trestiania redirects here. For the Ukrainian village that sometimes bears this name in Romania, see Dimka. So we have overlapping names, but this place is definitely in Romania.
Okay. So we've cleared that up. It's still right down there at the bottom of it. No, it's not. That's the county. The county is. It's still at the bottom of it, though. It's still at the bottom of Romania. Um,
We're
I don't
trying to
know.
we're trying to find more to say about it, but I gotta say, we can talk all day about the things we think Gravita may or may not have. But for me, Kalsa's gonna move on.
Kalsa, you're Rob's choice to move on to the next round.
The ultimate tournament of everything.
And I'm going to agree with them.
The ultimate tournament of everything.
If anything, just for the great, great pizza that they probably don't make.
Yeah, and there's like tildes under letters and things like that. And I just don't want to, I mean, no offense, but I just, if I could say the one over the other in the next round, it'll just make my life easier.
Well, let's find out.
In the next round of the Ultimate Tournament of Everything, we're moving on to what round? Round 5 now already.
Round 5.
Round 5. Round 5.
In round 5, we have Morgan Mitchell, a New Zealand rugby player, against Cystisus pardus, a species, you're not going to believe this, of very small sea snail.
It is the season of the sea snail here in the Ultimate Tournament of Everything. This is a very small sea snail indeed. Let's see if its stature can stand greater than that of Morgan Mitchell of the Rugby Union.
Morgan Mitchell was born July 20th, 1993. He plays as a tight head prop for the Toronto Arrows in Major League Rugby and Southland Stags in the Meter 10 Cup. He was born with a hearing impairment, which progressed to being deaf in 2016. He now has a cochlear implant and is the first deaf player to play professionally in the Meter 10.
Wow. Revolutionary.
Not a tall man, 5'7", weighs 250 pounds. Big guy, I'm sure, even though you're not tall, nice and stout there. He's scored a lot of points. Looks like he's very good at what he does, hence playing professionally.
Something else that was not very tall, but very good at what it did, was the Cystisus pardus. It says that it was observed to grow its shells to 1.55 meters long and millimeters long and a millimeter wide. Very, very small. Identified by a flat spire, smooth inner shell lip, and 3 ridged plates on their columellar fold. What's that? Do we have one of those?
I don't believe we do. That might be just a snail thing. It is known as a micromollusk.
Bifurcated head, red eyes, big foot with a cloudy pattern of yellow and white.
That sounds like a cool snail.
Well, it gets a little bit cooler because its mantle is yellow and densely packed blue leopard spots, which can be seen through the shell. I mean, that is pretty cool. It kind of looks like a space alien baby.
Now that snail looks cool, does it have enough in the tank to beat out Morgan Mitchell?
Morgan Mitchell, 250 pounds, went to Gore High School. He's 29. You know what? It seems like Morgan Mitchell has a lot going for him. Maybe not enough, though, to overtake Cystisus pardus as my selection to move on to the next round, because it occurs in marine reefs off the northwest coast of New Caledonia, and I think that's pretty impressive. Cystisus pardus, you're moving on in my vote to the next round of the Ultimate.
The ultimate tournament of everything.
Rob, who shall you choose?
Well, as we have found out, snails do very well in this competition. If we remember all the way back to round 1, we did have a snail beat an entire Mediterranean track event and competition. But I don't know if that is universal. I think the fact that Morgan Mitchell is out there living his dream, being the first deaf player to play professionally, He's an inspiration. He's doing all the right things, and he would step on that snail and crush it. So I'm mowing with Morgan Mitchell. Now the question is, do you look at that hand-crushing machine you have in your living room, and do you want to go through a tiebreaker again?
You know, I did say that it looked like an alien baby, and I'm sticking by that. And that being said, I do think that Morgan could beat an alien baby, especially in a game of rugby. So I'm going to revert my selection. And yeah, you know what? I'm going to agree with you. Morgan Mitchell, you're moving on to the next round of...
The ultimate tournament jump.
You swayed me.
As did the hand-crushing machine. Gotta love having that around.
I'm kind of looking forward to it.
Round 6.
There you have it. There is your winner. Round 6.
Now, as we all know from the scouting reports that you've been getting in your daily email, we have in this round Michael Rosen's Sad Book, a 2004 nonfiction book by English children's author Michael Rosen, against Georgia State Route 82. Let's see if it fares better than Arkansas Route 2.
Yes, of course. This is, as you mentioned, in fact, the title, the cover bout for this year's competition. We knew that this was coming down the pipe. We've all been looking forward to it, and I don't think we should waste any time cracking the cover of this round. So doing so, I think we should start with Sad Book.
Looks like the book is written again by Michael Rosen, illustrated by Quentin Blake, details the topic of grief. Although marketed as a children's book, Rosen explicitly mentions on the inside jacket that it is for everyone. Chronicles his grief over the loss of his son, Eddie, who died of meningococcal septicemia at 18. Basically a form of meningitis. High mortality rate if untreated, but is vaccine preventable. While the best known cause of meningitis, it can also result in sepsis, which is even more damaging and a dangerous condition. Now, that's got to be crushing, but he took that and he wrote a book about it to help other people deal with their grief. That is a very noble and altruistic thing to do.
And not just people, but children, you know. There was a quote down here, a review, saying it doesn't hide the darkness. It doesn't try to pretend that suffering and sadness are easy to bear. And, you know, it was considered suitable for children and said it would help anyone mourn a loss or dealing with an indelible sadness. Indefinable, either way.
He explains the topic of death in a matter-of-fact way, and he uses pictures of him looking happy with text explaining that he's sad and only pretending to be happy, and frequently uses that disconnection between text and image to communicate the complex feelings of grief. I might have to go out and buy a copy of this.
You know who else can use confusing images of conflict and grief? That would be the devil, who went down to Georgia, as they say, and may very well have had that famed violin battle on Georgia State Route 82.
Now, just so we know for sure, does this route still exist? It looks like it does. We have a current highway.
All right. 36.1 miles long, arc-shaped. You know, it is a road.
It's
Certainly.
a road. Now, in the city of Arcade, it intersects with US 129. Just to the northeast, it intersects with US 129 again. The three highways begin a concurrency northwest to Jefferson. Now, that's got to be confusing. You take a road, and then it turns into another road, and then it turns into a third road. And while it is all three roads, it is technically all those separate roads at the same time as being that one road.
And while you're deliberating all of that, just going mad, you end up at the end of the road, which is its northern terminus at State Road 323 east of Gainesville. And That's not where you want to end up.
No, because that is right outside Tadmore Elementary School.
Yeah. What are you doing there? You got
Don't
no
know.
business.
Page doesn't
You-
exist.
Heading to Atlanta or something. Trying to find the devil. Play the fiddle.
There's a picture of State Road 82. It does look very scenic.
I see some trees. It looks humid.
Well, it's Georgia. Of course it does.
You know what else can sometimes fill the air with moisture? Tears brought on by grief. And if you want to cope with that, you could take a trip to Georgia, or you could sit down and read a nice, inspiring book. An illustrated book, no less. And that is why I am going with Sad Book, I'm happy to say, as my selection to move on to the next round of
The ultimate turtle of everything.
I know you love a road.
Now, as we know, roads do fare very well in this competition. We've featured several of them, and while Arkansas State number 2 did not fare very well this time, other roads do spectacularly well considering. We also know that books tend to not show up, right? We had all of South Korean literature, and while it did win, it was close because that volcano was a-coming, let me tell you. It was ready to win.
Tiebreaker.
Yeah, so this one, I think we have a first here. I think Sad Book is going to be our first book to make it out of the first round. It has some unconventional technique. It really studied the film. I think it has Georgia State Route 82 beat.
Sad Book, you're going into the history book as this round's winner of
The ultimate turtle of everything.
Definitely. Check out your local library.
Buy Sad Book.
See if a friend has it and you can borrow it first.
Okay, read Sad Book.
Yeah, go get it. Speaking of going and getting it, why don't we go and get the next round? Already cruising on to round 8.
I say, would you by chance have any round 8? Round 8!
Mike, as always, you can't count. We're in round 7.
Round 7. Round 7. Round 7. Round 7.
In round 7, we have Amrita Chattopadhyay against Fenerbahce Uker EuroLeague 2007 to 2008. This is going to be the round of struggling pronunciations. Let's start with Amrita Chattopadhyay. She's a Bengali film actress. Her debut was in Budaheb Dasgupta's Anwar Ka Ajab Kisa. After that, she acted in a number of Bengali, Hindi, and multilingual films. She did her schooling in Calcutta, graduated from St. Xavier's in sociology with honors, and did postgrad studies at Jadavpur University, scoring first marks in both cases.
Very smart. Seems like a very talented actress. Did a number of things here, especially we're seeing from 2013 to 2019. Not seeing like recurring characters or anything, so she was getting fresh, hot roles every time.
Just like at the Texas Roadhouse.
Ooh.
Cinnamon butter. Anyway, I digress. It does look like she's been in a lot of things, movies, television, and web series, is still active on screen. Now, there is, as with most actors' pages now, a gap after 2019, which we all know why that happened, obviously.
Brad took all the roles.
Yeah, that was it. It's Brad Pitt. Now let's look at Fenerbahce Uker EuroLeague, professional men's basketball department at Fenerbahce SK, a multinational, major multi-sport club in Turkey.
So this is it's a whole league of European basketball.
Yeah, it looks like C-League basketball.
Well, yeah, that's about what it looks like. It's no NBA. LeBron, he probably would have dominated, but he wasn't there. Um, who was there? Are we seeing any standout stars listed or anything?
None that I can pronounce.
Okay.
The
Looking at the
winning team that season is Panathinaikos, which is the Greek team.
crushed it. They went 14 or 12-2. Pretty good.
Look at that point differential. 119 more points than their opponents. Some of those games weren't even close.
Yeah, that's domination right there.
Now, will they dominate enough to beat Amrita?
Yeah. Yeah, I think they do, and I'm gonna tell you why. Because it's from the sea leagues that the stars arise. It's from the horizon that the sun shall arise. And over the horizon of the sea league, I think that we're gonna see some of these stars having exceptional careers, perhaps even in the NBA. So I'm going to say keep your eyes on, oh my, Fenerbahce Uecker? Is that what we're going with?
Yeah, keep your eye on that guy.
As my selection to move on to the next round. What are you going with?
Well, I am looking at the list of notable players from some of these teams, and some of them I have never heard of, and other ones I have also never heard of. So it's a tough one. If I had to pick between a league of basketball players that I did not know existed who play in what we know as the C League against an Indian actress who I also didn't know existed in movies I've never seen, I think I'm going to have to go with the one that is familiar, the one that makes me think of home, and the one that shows that, you know what, white men can jump. I'm going to go with the C League.
Yeah, I don't feel super great about it. I'm not going to lie, but I think it would have been probably a good show. Probably a good competition. A lot of hoops hooped. So are we settled that we're moving on with the C League tournament?
You know what? I don't like it either, but every once in a while you get two teams that play each other, and it's scrappy, and it may not be a good game, but at the end of the day, there is a winner and there is a loser. It's like when the Browns play the Bengals. Somebody's got to win. They can't tie 0 forever, and that's just been one of those battles today.
Yeah. Dirty, scrappy game. This is the ultimate tournament of everything, but battered, bloody, and on to the next round. Fenerbahce Uecker EuroLeague 2007-2008. You're moving on to the next round of
the ultimate tournament of everything.
So, Rob, now it's time for round 8.
Correct.
I say, would you by chance have any round 8? Round 8!
Now we know what time it is in round 8. It is time for Can You Guess What This Thing Is? Mike, I have Masabi. Now, is Masabi the less spicy version of wasabi? Is Masabi a snail? Is Masabi a company? Or is Masabi a person?
Well, I think that I would like it to be the first one because wasabi can be quite spicy, but I do love it. However, I'm going to go with selection D.
A person. Ooh. Masabi is a London-based technology company that develops and markets fare collection services for public transport companies. So close.
I was pretty close.
Yeah. Now, Masabi is competing against 1598 in poetry. The year 1598 and all the poetry from that year against a company that makes sure your bus pass works. Who's it going
I
to
love
be?
that. Well, let's see here. Masabi, they get you there. They charge your fare, and they're almost everywhere. Their customers include public transit authorities in Calgary, Boston, London, Athens, Rome, Madrid, New York, Las Vegas, and Japan, all over the place. There's even more included. Um, they are offering a whole bunch of products. They're on track to exceed $1 billion in annual ticketing sales in the next year. Big time business going on.
Yeah, they have offices located in Tech City, London, New York, and Boston. Tech City, London. I didn't know that's got to be their version of Silicon Valley, but it's probably not in a valley. I would imagine it's in a city.
I think, yeah, that's probably where Merlin was based out of.
Makes sense. Now, 1598 in poetry was a big year for poetry. We had Poems in Divers Humors published. We had 7 books of the Iliads of Homer published. We had Prince of Poets published. We had Francis Rouse publish Thule, or Virtues Historie. We had Joshua Sylvester publish The Second Week, or Childhood of the World. We've had a lot of really interesting things published in 1598. But is it more interesting than scanning your ticket on the subway?
I bet you those tickets have neat little pictures on them. Did any of these books have pictures?
Not that I can see, but I'm sure they did. Everyone's got a cover art, right?
The Metamorphosis of Pygmalion's Image by John Marston. Do you think that was like a coloring book, a picture book of sorts?
Probably not, but you never know.
We probably should know. We should probably look into it. But before we make our decision, let's look a little bit more into this company that is Masabi. Just big business.
Yeah, big business. Founded 2001, raised seed funding of $2.8 million. So they kind of started up really at the beginning of a lot of this technology stuff. They were on ticketing technology way before everyone else. I think I still remember paying for a bus in quarters in 2005.
Venture capital from an investor group, including MasterCard. So they got all the money in the world, and yet they're still charging us for our bus tickets? Come on, friend. While I'm on that bus, you know what I'm going to be reading? I'm going to be reading some of the wonderful selections from 1598 in poetry. And that's why it's my selection to move on to the next round of
The ultimate tournament of everything.
Decided. What do you say, Rob?
You know what? I agree with you, and here's why. While I'm sure I'll need to take a bus, I'm sure I'll need to take a train, I'm sure I may even need to take a plane or an automobile, I will always be reading poetry when I try to get there because something fills up your soul much better than something that empties your bank account. So 1598 in poetry, you are our champion in this round.
The ultimate tournament of everything.
Mike, we are to that time. We are to the witching hour. We are to our final round.
I always get a little sad when we get here. And that's why we have such positive music for it.
It's about time for round 9. Round 9.
Take that music. Popular country music of 2007, more particularly the Oh Brother Where Art Thou soundtrack. Maybe that was 2001. It was a year. In round 9, we have Aluroctonus, a genus of hymenopteran insects in the family Euliphidae, against Revelator Coffee, an American coffee roasting company headquartered in Birmingham, Alabama. We have a bug versus a bean in this, our round 9.
Both are at significant disadvantages. While the Aluroctonus definitely exists, is out there right now. Being a bug, we don't have a lot of information. However, while Revelator Coffee is, it's a business and a coffee place, we do have tons of information about it.
Now, I believe that's pronounced Revelator, as in John the Revelator.
I like Revelator.
You can. You'll be wrong, but you can. In
I am
Birmingham, Alabama, founded by Josh Owen, Emma Chevalier, and Elizabeth Pogue in October of 2013. Originally located in New Orleans, but moved.
Where to?
Moved to Birmingham. They now operate 20 locations around the southern United States, as well as 2 in Massachusetts. They acquired Boston, Massachusetts-based Wired Puppy and Atlanta, Georgia-based Octane Coffee. So they are not just a coffee shop. They're a conglomerate who has pirated other businesses. I guess acquired is probably the term they like better.
They roasted them like they're beans. Let's take a look over at, I would love, to be honest, to take a look over at its competitor, Aluroctonus, but there is literally no information here other than that it is a genus of hymenopteran insects. It looks like that's, this is a group of a whole bunch of 150,000 living species of bugs. It's varied.
Yeah, sawflies, wasps, bees, and ants.
That's widespread.
Now the question is, could we have Revelator coffee without the important work of the bee? And I kind of doubt it.
I certainly doubt it as well. And I think that it would take only a handful of these insects to be found in that place to just totally shut it down. It seems a little bit one-sided in this round to me.
Yeah, I mean, you can love Revelator coffee, but you put one wasp in that building and it's over. I'm not getting coffee. I'm going in, I'm seeing the wasp, and you know what I'm doing? I'm leaving.
Now, don't go ahead and do that. What you should go ahead and do is send us suggestions of what we should do on Anchor FM or on our soon-to-be-coming-out Facebook page. Send us anything you want. Send us questions. Send us comments. Send us little quips to play between the rounds. We'll hear them, we'll play them, and you'll feel really cool.
We might even compare you against something else that you don't know about. It could be totally random. You could send us your name, a little biography. I'll pick a thing off the Wikipedia, and we'll figure out, are you better than, I don't know, whatever the thing is. You probably are. I think you'd probably win. You might get a certificate in the mail. Who knows? We're figuring it out.
I bet you could beat Revelator coffee, because if this bug can, in my opinion, I bet you're just awesome enough to do so too. That being said, Aluroctonus, you are my selection to move on to the next round of
The ultimate tournament of everything.
I got to agree. While I know the world runs on coffee for a lot of people, I've tried to drink it, and I think it's gross. And while I do think bugs are gross, and I wouldn't drink one of them either, the world does need them to keep on turning. We can do without coffee. So, I agree. Aluroctonus, that sounds right. You're the winner. You're moving on. You are the winner of our final round in this episode of... You gonna leave me hanging?
It wanted me to change the title.
Only one of us has the power over the music, and it is Mike. And so when I want to use it, guess what I get? Silence.
I was trying.
Mike, do you have an outro for the people?
I do. If you run on coffee, your feet are going to get wet. But if you run on this podcast, be sure to check us out next week here for another exciting episode of
The ultimate tournament of everything.